Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another one of my comparisons. I've finished all the Leica ones, so I thought we'd move on to another couple of cameras that I happen to have. And these will be the last of the comparisons because other cameras in my collection I only have one example of. So I've got my notes. I've got a cup of tea. So, all being well, I'm ready to start rabbiting on about my my two Pentax Spotmatics. The one on the left here is a Spotmatic 1, which I actually cannot remember where I got this from. I've had it for quite some time. I mean, it may have been that long ago that I don't think I bought it online. I actually can't remember. That's the truth of the matter. I've had it a long time, and I actually bought it as a sort of a backup to the Spotmatic 2. I'm going to move the Spotmatic 2 out of the way, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. This particular one, I can't remember where I bought it from, but it came fitted with a Fujinon f 2.8 lens or something like that, and I didn't pay a huge amount for the camera. I can't remember what it was, but it didn't seem bad money at the time. But I decided that it would be nice to have it fitted with a Takuma lens, so I bought another 55mm f1.8 for it, and I don't know why really. It was a bit of an illogical decision to make, because I could have obviously swapped lenses round, but that's what I did, and so it had another 55mm f1.8 Takuma on it. And then a friend of mine bought a Spotmatic 1 I don't know where he got it from some antique shop, I think. And I said, I'll tell you what, I said, if give me whatever I paid for that other Takuma, and you can have a lens to go on your body as well. And anyway, so I haven't got the other Takuma now. The one that's sitting on this one is actually a 28mm one, which I did purchase off eBay. No, it isn't. I tell a lie. This is, no, I'm wrong. It's no, this is an f3.5 35mm semi-wide angle lens. This was also bought brand new. It's not the lens I thought it was. I'm getting confused already. Never mind. We're not really talking about the lenses, we're talking about the cameras, but I'll put that back on now for protection. But that's, as I say, that's the f3.5 35mm. I thought it was a 28mm one I bought off eBay some time back. But anyway, let's just talk about the Spotmatic range for a moment. The range was introduced in 1964, and it lasted until 1976. The Spotmatics all had the M42 screw thread, which is quite a handy type of fitting to collect, because it's a very common thread. It was also used by the East German Praktika company. The Russians used it on their Helios lenses fitted to Zeniths. Meyer Optic used the same thread, probably for Praktika cameras. And I'm no doubt when I finish this vlog, I'll think of a few more people that use the same thread. If you're collecting vintage lenses to put on digital cameras, which is something I've done from time to time, then M42 fit lenses is quite a popular one to go for, because you only obviously have to by one adapter, and you can use quite a range of quality lenses. Certainly Takumar lenses are of considerable quality, but I'll talk about those maybe some other time. The real difference though between the Spotmatic 1 and the 2 are not that dissimilar. Both cameras have TTL metering, or through the lens metering, which when it was introduced with the Spotmatic was quite a new thing. The Spotmatics weren't the first to have it, I don't think. I think that accolade goes actually to Topcon, but they were certainly one of the first camera manufacturers to have TTL metering. And these cameras they're so lovely to use. They feel, there's some weight there, but they have a quality feel to them. Anybody who's got one will know exactly what I mean. And if anybody is thinking of buying a film camera, an SLR camera, to perhaps have a little play around with film, then I can thoroughly recommend these, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people as well who would say the same thing. The meter on the Spotmatic, the meters works on this one, but it doesn't work that well, and that's partly because the original batteries, which were a mercury cell, are no longer available. And I think it's either got no batteries in, or a battery held in place with some blue tack. It's not the ideal way to go about these things, but quite frankly, I've got separate handheld meters which can do the job. But I believe this one goes up to, if I put it round the right way, these go up to 1600 ASA. This is this Spotmatic 1, and you also might have noticed there's no accessory shoe. I believe that if you wanted to use a flash gun, you bought a shoe which sort of slotted in these two slots here by the viewfinder window, and it was like a pressing that came up and it then moved across there, and you could have your flash gun there, and you would plug it in either to one of these two sockets here. That's the one for bulb flash, and the electronic flash one is just below it, and you would turn the meter on by clicking it up like that, and then off by pushing it back down again. Sorry about these straps getting in the way. Very nice looking camera. I don't know the history of this one. It's got a few marks on it, but they do sound quite nice. When this range came out, it was incredibly popular. I was doing some research last night, and I believe there was something like, you know, when you make notes and you've got the notes right by you, and the bit you want to look at you can never find. But yes, a total of some 4 million Spotmatics were produced. Presumably that's over the complete Spotmatic production run from 64 to 76. And the SP or the SP1 Spotmatic 1 was eventually replaced by the Spotmatic 2, which is this one. The main differences are that, as you can see, the Spotmatic 2 has got a hot shoe, and you can switch that hot shoe here between electronic and a bulb flash. There's also film reminder there, as there is in the Spotmatic 1, and the ASA range on on the Spotmatic 2 goes up to 3200 ASA. This camera, I do know its history because I've had this camera from brand new, and it's the only one of two cameras. It's the only, I've got two cameras that in my collection that I've had from brand new. This one and a much earlier on and far less expensive Helena 35X. So I bought this in Birmingham. It came from Reed's Photographic, which were situated somewhere near Birmingham New Street Station. Reed's were one of the camera, if you like, discount stores, and they did quite a good price. I think, and I might be wrong about this, I think I paid about £105 for this. That would be back in 72 or 73. And I paid an extra £5. That's including with the lens as well. I paid an extra £5 to have the black finish. And this is also the lens that came with it. This is the Takuma. It's 55mm. This is the f1.8 version with it's got a UV filter on, and these lenses are beautiful, and I've taken some cracking photographs over the years with this. The camera's never let me down really. It's always worked. I did have a problem, and I think that was through lack of use a few years back, where the mirror locked up, and I think it's probably through lack of use. And I went on to YouTube, this marvelous thing we have called YouTube, and I came across somebody had done an upload where they'd freed theirs off. There are a number of uploads actually on how you can do this, but I think up to a point it depends on what the problem is. And I'm just going to have a quick slurp of tea. And the reason I say that is because I think there's several reasons why the shutters can, the mirrors rather, can lock up. I followed this instructional video on YouTube. I don't know whether it's still there, but basically it consisted of removing the base very carefully, and once the base is removed, there's a whole lot of linkages down here, and what I basically did is I got some very fine sewing machine oil and put an absolutely minute amount on nearly every linkage that you could see that moved, and within no time at all the camera was back to fully working condition. But I do stress that it was a very, very fine sewing machine oil, and I put literally a very minute amount of oil on it, and then of course put the base back on and so on, and it's worked beautifully ever since. There's a book underneath here which I should have moved, so I've got a step now. So if you see these cameras start moving about or falling, it's because it was sort of there to form a platform, but I don't think it's really necessary. But never mind. And it still works, you know. And I say I've had this from brand new, so I know it's all of its history. And I used to go back to Reed's in Birmingham quite often and buy other bits. This lens on the SP1 35mm f3.5. I also bought the 135 f3.5 as well. So I just had the three lenses, and quite frankly these covered all my photographic requirements for a long time. The camera's always been looked after, you know, it's never been slung about. There's a little bit of brassing here, but that's because that's caused by this this loop here that has the strap running through it. It occasionally rubs on the body, So there's the minute bit of brassing there, and I think there's a little bit there. I mean, a lot of people love to have black body cameras with brassing, but and there's a bit there as well, look. But yeah, and there's some there, but that's just age. When you put these back into their protective cases, they rub on things, and they little bit of rubbing eventually over the years, and you get this brassing. But a lot of people like that. In fact, there are people who have Leicas repainted, and they deliberately have the brassing put on for effect. So it's no problem at all to have a black body camera with a bit of brassing. No problem at all, I suppose, to have a silver one, but it does look more effective with the black bodies. So as I've said, I think this must have been quite a late Sp2, because I think I bought it in about 1973, and not long after that the Spotmatic F appeared, and the only difference between the Spotmatic 2 and the Spotmatic F, as far as I know, is that the F has full aperture metering, whereas with the Spotmatic 2 and the 1, when you turn the light meter on, you the lens has to be stopped down. So if you turn the meter on, as you turn the aperture ring, the picture in the viewfinder will, as you close the lens down, as you say, you go probably around to about f12 and and so on, the image will get darker. Whereas with the F, that didn't happen. I don't think that's any big deal, because what I always do when I use it is I turn the meter on and set the aperture, and then turn the meter off for focusing purposes. And so the full aperture metering was a nice touch, but it's not something that's absolutely essential. The Spotmatic 1 or 2, if you can, I go for the 2, because you've got the few more conveniences. But having stop-down metering it's no big deal. The problem really is trying to get batteries. The original batteries, and this one does still have a mercury cell in it. It's not the original one, but it's been in there for quite a long time. I do take it out occasionally and inspect it, make sure it's not leaking. And those cells actually give off a voltage of 1.35 volts, and that is what the metering system is designed to run on. But if you go online and do some research, people say that the circuitry will account for that additional voltage from a 1.5 volt cell. So whether that's the case or not, I don't know. What I do know is that the mercury cells last a long time, but the voltage does tend to drop very, very slowly. And I think last year I used this and I tested it against a vintage Western Master 5 handheld meter, and the readings I were getting were virtually matching up. They may have been half a stop out, whatever, I don't know. But I shall continue to use this mercury cell that's in here. As I said, it's not the original one. It's probably been replaced several times, but unfortunately mercury cells now are no more. It's a great pity somebody doesn't make a modern lithium cell, which is exactly the same dimensions as the older mercury cells, but that doesn't seem to be the way it goes. So at some point, I'll have to look into that. I can't remember if there's a battery in this one or not, but the meter on this one actually does seem a bit sensitive, shall we say. Sometimes it tends to work beautifully, and other times it doesn't, and I don't know whether that's a bad contact. That's in the Spotmatic one I'm talking about. meter in this one works perfectly, and it does seem to be better damped in this one. With the Spotmatic one, when the meter is working, the needle flicks about quite a bit. It doesn't in this. It does it far more slowly. So whether there's some additional circuitry or the mechanism slightly different, but the meter needle moves very, very gently. The real point about these cameras, though, these cameras only need a battery for the operation of the light meter. These are purely mechanical. You don't need a battery to operate them. They are completely manual. You simply get the needle in the meter in the middle. If the needle is in the horizontal position, not above plus for overexposure or down for underexposure, if it's in the middle, you have got the right combination of shutter speed and aperture. And what could be simpler than that? They are quite beautiful cameras to use. They're very easy to use. They tend to be very reliable, and they're a nice looking camera. So basically the difference between the SP1 and the SP2, the main differences are the additional range, the additional ASA range on the Spotmatic 2, going up to 3200 as opposed to the 1600 of the Spotmatic 1, and the fact that the Sp2 has a hot shoe. Other than that, they're virtually the same camera. So I hope I don't think there's anything else I need to say really. What I have got is one of these, and you can, that's the, I bought this guide years ago, that I drew that bit there with a biro, but this is these focal press guides were really very, very useful. You could have them for a whole lot of different cameras. They're some of the range. I had one of these years ago for my Leica range, and managed to lose it, and I bought one, rather a tatty one, off eBay. But if you can get hold of any of these, these were made by Focal Press, and these were available in the 70s. I don't know when they stopped printing them. I am assuming that they've stopped printing them. It would be nice actually if somebody started doing some reprints of these. But you can see this particular guide covers the whole of the Pentax, or I should say the Asahi Optical Company's range of SLRs. There's the different sorts. Some of these cameras, the earlier ones were introduced I think about 1960, but they didn't have the metering system. It was the Spotmatic one. This was the first model to have through the lens metering. The other thing I did want to mention is that despite the fact that they are called Spotmatics, they do not have spot metering. They have centre weight or average metering. So I think that's the same thing. No, maybe it isn't. Maybe spot metering is centre weighted. These aren't. They don't have spot metering. Anyway, the metering. I think I believe that what happened was they intended to have spot metering, but they had some sort of problems. I think I did read this online, and I can't remember where, but I think it's basically probably the case. So they decided to abandon the spot metering system and go for an averaging system. But the tooling for the camera bodies had already been done, and it was too late to change it. So they were marketed as Spotmatic. But I suppose, when I bought this, I never thought, oh, spot. It's got spot metering. I think I just assumed it was just a name given to the range. And but I believe that was the case. These were intended originally to have a spot metering system. But I mean the meters on these, if you've got a decent battery, and you can get that you get that needle straight in the middle, facing well, you know, right on the horizon, as it were, straight, you'll get perfect exposure. I can't praise these cameras enough. I mean, this one, the black one, has been really part of my life for a long time. You know, my photographic life, it's been all over the place with me, and I would never sell that one because it's got too much. You know, it's just got too much attachment. It was the first quality camera I ever had. I bought it when I was probably about 23. I'm now 70, so work that one out for yourself. And it still works, and I'll always keep it. And it's a range of camera that I would always recommend people to have consider if they're thinking of buying a film camera and they want an SLR. So there you go, a Spotmatic 1 here and a Spotmatic 2. And I think I've pointed out the basic differences. There are probably other mechanical differences as well. You know, any technician would probably tell you there's quite a few differences, internal differences. But the main ones really, I mean, they both got self-timers. Main differences are the fact that the Sp2 or the Spotmatic 2 has a hot shoe, and the SP1 doesn't. And as I've said, the ASA range was increased to 3200 on the Spotmatic 2. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I don't know what I'm going to do with the next upload actually, so I'm not going to mention what it is. But you know, once again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.